Thank you. Um, is there anything you don't want to talk about? Is there anything you want to make sure we do talk about? Do you want me to sort of explain why I wanted to chat to you? Would that be a good idea?
Yeah, that would help.
Cool.
That would help.
So I'm slowly but surely building this page called Coffee Chats, and it's having conversations with people who I think are in some way interesting, in some way, think outside the box, have thoughts and ideas, and say stuff that, just isn't necessarily what the general public think about or talk about, right?
Yeah.
So obviously I've seen you on social media, and hence why I first sort of asked if you were interested to do this.
Yeah.
I've spoken to other mindset coaches before. A good friend of mine he calls himself a mindset coach, and I'm sort of slowly but surely working my way into a psychology degree and going down that road.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So, and look, I've done a lot of these interviews now and interviewed lots of different people. What I've found, the last sort of half a dozen or so have all been males. So
yeah.
It will be good to get some femininity back into
it. Nice. Oh, that will be fun.
So look, it's really just a casual conversation, and I'm sure that some really cool stuff will come up. I sent through that photo with a couple of not so much questions, but more so just to keep me on track.
Topics. Yeah.
Because otherwise we'll go off on a tangent, or I'll go off on a tangent, and then half an hour later go, oh shit, we probably should have stuck to the question.
We probably should stick to some questions. Yeah, well, we can cover those. We can cover those along the way. And I have no doubt my son will make a appearance at some point. He's on the other side. Oh, you can see his little head. I can see his little head.
What's your boy's name?
That's Oliver.
Oliver?
Yeah.
Oh, my 2-year-old nephew's an Oliver as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah, cool. That's cool. We're gonna drop off at the grandpa.
Oh, okay.
I've got a girl who's 5 tomorrow.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And got a party all planned?
We had one just weekend gone. I had a full Martha Stewart day of baking cupcakes and stuff. And
you're showing your age now.
I know. Someone said, I mentioned that the other day, and then someone went, oh my God, she didn't even know that Martha had gone to jail. And she went, what? You went to jail? And I went, no, I was baking cupcakes. And she went, oh, she bakes?
Wow. There are some good pros about being old, I guess. You remember people like that.
That's right.
So Kylie, this is Coffee Chat. So do you have a coffee, or what are you drinking?
Oh, I've got a water, but
you're too good. You're too healthy.
I should have a cup of tea. I'll go get my teacup, so at least I've got my bright yellow. Hang on one second.
Do that. So show me this cup. Nice. That's massive. That's bigger than you.
I know. I love a giant cup of tea.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
That's what my partner's just introduced me to tea, because I was drinking like 2 or 3 coffees a day, and A, it's not good for you, but B, it's very expensive because I don't drink home coffee. It's always cafe style.
Yeah.
So she said, start drinking tea, and initially I went, I'd rather shoot myself, but it's actually quite good. And I've got one of those addictive personalities too, so I end up just having like 74 teas a day.
It takes one to know one, I think.
Yeah, okay. Nice. All right, let's start at the start then. So tell me a little bit about the last 10 years for you, business-wise and personal life, family, all of that.
All right. So the last 10 years for me, well, it's more about, so for me, it's been like the last 13 years has been like the kind of critical period of time in my life. So that's when I shifted from, my kind of big shift from being a regular party girl, overweight, struggling, living life for the moment, but, not thinking about the consequences, and yeah, all of that stuff, doing my uni degree and working in a cafe and all of that type of thing.
How old were you then?
So 13, if I had to get my maths right, hang on, I'm 36 now.
Okay.
So I was 23
early
then.
20s,
early 20s. And,
okay. And what degree did you do?
I did communications of, writing and cultural studies at UTS. So
What was the goal back in your early 20s? What did young Kylie Ryan want to do?
Young Kylie Ryan wanted to be a pop star.
You still can. It's still, you're still
I don't
young.
know about a pop star, but I can still make music, and I ticked a lot of those goals off. And my dad wanted me to do law, and so we compromised in the middle, and I did a communications and writing degree.
Why did he want you to do law?
Because he's traditional Irish.
Is he a lawyer?
No, he's a chef, but he wanted his daughter to go and do university and be something proper like a doctor or a lawyer, and I was always pretty good at English, so we thought law would be good for me. But
okay. And you just said that you ticked off some of those pop star boxes. What does that mean?
Yeah, so after
You've done a world tour, have you?
Yeah, not a big world tour, but a small one. I have done. Yeah, I worked after I made those kind of changes and lost weight and like kind of started on my mindset journey with NLP. You can hear Ollie in the background. Then I started singing professionally in bands and stuff and with DJs. Wow. And I used to freestyle like back when Sydney had a club scene.
Yeah, okay.
Before it died and was shut down. I used to sing in all the nightclubs in King's Cross and all the gay bars and stuff, freestyling with DJs. Okay.
So this is obviously pre-kids and
pre-kids.
You're working in the cafe. Had you done your degree by that stage?
Done my degree by then. And then I had a good stint of being a full-time singer.
Wow.
Doing that while I was also doing all of my personal development work through the day. So I would with my NLP studies and my coaching studies, there were many times when I would be, have a gig at 4 a.m. in the morning and then back it up and be at 9 o'clock studying about mindset and psychology the next day and like having naps in the breaks and stuff like that. So
you touched on being overweight. Do you think a big part of that was because of that sort of lifestyle?
A big part of what? Of studying
of being overweight? Was it because of that lifestyle?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's it's interesting actually because that singing kind of straddled that part of my life where I started out singing while I was still quite curvy and I kind of got over that fear of like, oh, no one wants to see a fat girl sing. This was like way before Adele. And way too long since Mama Cass, right?
Yeah, nice. Mamas and the Papas and all that.
Yeah, so it had been a long time since that, and all of the pop stars were like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera back in the first, like the early days of them.
Got it.
And so I was like, no one wants to see a fat girl sing, but then I was like, it doesn't matter, I just have to sing. And so I got out and did that, and then I met my husband, and we were in a band together, and eventually I seduced him because I realized that I was looking at his butt a little bit more than I was focused on the music. Nice. And so we got together and we made him, hey, get your hand out of your pants.
He's just a boy. He's a normal boy.
Why? Is that nice? Yeah, that's good. This is Ollie.
Hey, Ollie boy.
Say hi. He can't hear you.
Does he get Ollie or Oliver most?
Oliver. Ollie mostly. But yeah. And sometimes Ollie Dolly. But someone said we had to stop calling him Ollie Dolly because otherwise he'll get teased.
Okay.
You can have a little bit of YouTube time, buddy.
What a good boy.
Yeah, he's a good boy. So I lost the weight after that, and I kind of found that even while I was in the nightclubs and stuff. Yeah, what's up, buddy? Do you need something? Okay, good.
Looks
Well,
like
you
he's
have
doing
fun
burpees. Is he doing burpees? That's
there.
impressive.
sort of burpees on the lounge. Yeah, so it felt like, you know, that nightclub existence and partying and, you know, drinking or late nights and whatever, that certainly was a part of me being overweight, but it wasn't the only thing, because once I changed my mindset and fell in love and kind of found this kind of stability in my life, then I was able to shift the weight really quickly and keep it off, even still doing that lifestyle.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and then not the partying side. I still had the late nights, but I wasn't drinking and I wasn't taking drugs then, and I would just go and sing and then go home.
And was that a conscious thing, or do you think, like you say, you met your hubby and things were a lot more concrete in your life? Was that what it was, or did you consciously say, I'm going to make some changes?
No, I consciously did that because I'd been struggling with, like, I was, you know, pushing 100 kilos for a while there, and you know, hovering around the 90, which is a good 30 kilos heavier than I need to be.
Got it.
And so there was a moment where I went, no, I've got to do something about this, like really do something about this. And he went overseas, and I kind of found that moment of resolution where I had tried things before but never actually really decided that it was like, there's no turning back from this. And so I had that moment where he went overseas for 3 months skiing and I couldn't afford to go, but I was like, right, okay, see ya. And then I went,
were you married
this is
then?
it. No, this was before we were married. We'd just gotten together.
Okay. And
I kind of saw this future for myself that I hadn't been able to see before, you know, in having that relationship. And I was, it's not like I did it for him. I was like, wow, I need to be the best me I can be. And I had this beautiful window of opportunity, like this 3 months that I just did this intense training. And I did the, what was it? Bill Phillips Body for Life.
Oh, wow. Jeez, you are showing your age.
Yeah, I know, right? And I went hardcore.
Body for Life.
Bill Phillips Body for Life.
Nice.
Yeah, hardcore. And it was amazing. And, you know, it's just high intensity interval training. And now I understand about my genetics and my epigenetics. That is the perfect type of training for my body. And so that's why I got like super fast results, and I dropped 20 kilos in 3 months. And
that's awesome.
Kept it off.
Yeah, that's that and hats off to you. That's great.
Yeah.
That sort of training, when he brought that out, was before its time. You know, that was like
way
early 2000s, even late 90s. And back then people were still just, you know, everything was long, slow runs. And people now know that that's not necessarily the best way to go.
Well, it is. That's the interesting thing, though. It is for some people
100%.
and it's not for others. Yeah.
100%.
For me, the high intensity is amazing. For taller, you know, more sturdy kind of types, then that long, slow stuff is really good. So
got it. Still with your hubby?
Yes.
All good? Everything's good
all
there?
good.
Nice.
All good, amazing. Got my little girl, he's just turned 5. We've been married for 7 years. Her name's Ruby. She is a firecracker.
I saw a video of you and her in Hawaii.
Yeah, that was super fun. We were like, we were at Turtle Bay. Yes, buddy? You don't want Peppa Pig? Okay. Okay, well, you can pick something else. Do you want to pick something else? Can you do it, or do you want help?
Is he nearly 3?
He's 2.5. Nearly 2.5. Yes, buddy. Do you want some help? Hang on a sec.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. You can pick it. Have you got it? Yeah, give it a chance to load, buddy.
Yeah, he speaks really well.
He does, yeah.
Doesn't he?
Yeah, him and Ruby both speak really well. I had this game when they were little, and I was very much a kind of leaning towards the attachment parenting style, and so they were like with me all the time and always in the carrier, and I had this game of teaching them precociously large words and like not talking to them like babies when they were little. So they've got pretty good vocabularies, which is fun. So
well done. Okay, so with the mind coaching stuff now, how did that, I'm kind of assuming how it eventuated, but how did that sort of eventuate for you?
Yeah, so that was a part of, it's interesting actually, that's tied into my singing. So one of my old singing teachers, Alice Hemley, who's an amazing person, and one of my great mentors, she used to teach at the conservatorium and used to teach me singing and stuff, and then she got involved in NLP. And so this was like 13, 14 years ago. And when she first got involved in that, then she wanted someone to practice with, and I was around all the time. And so she practiced with me. Yeah. And that was when I was overweight and when I was still in that party stuff happening. And that was like the big turning point of like the starting of that snowball of the shift that happened was doing NLP and changing, getting some coaching around that stuff. And we didn't even work on my weight. It was like working on self-worth and beliefs about like relationship and being worthy of love and all of that type of stuff. Yes. And once that shifted, like I had this just epic year of transformation where I lost 30 kilos. I met my husband. I started this band. I got out of debt. I got off drugs. I started my own NLP training as well. Wow. And I was just like, it's all on. So, and then it's just kind of been going up and up and up ever since. Yeah. So, and
how long ago was that?
Cool. So that was like 13 years ago. Yeah.
Wow. So you're early 20s and you've had those realizations back then.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, eh?
Yeah, pretty lucky. And it's just, it kind of whet my appetite for, my addictive personality switched from partying, nightlife to personal development, consciousness, epic growth. And that's been my addiction ever since. So I've been doing trainings and reading books and stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you, or do you find that you think you'd like to go back to that environment?
No.
What about when you're in your early 20s though? Did you often go, I'd like to just let my hair down and...
occasionally, like I still love them. I still love some of the music, but so like occasionally we would still go to a festival or something, but it would just be, you have a few drinks and have a dance and then go home. It's not that like
that world again.
4 day bender type thing.
Yeah, right.
So, and it's interesting because my husband still really loves techno, and Carl Cox just came out. Okay. And we went to see him, which was interesting. And because I've got 2 kids and it's been a long time since I've been in that type of environment. And I walked in and I was like, holy hell. Yeah. This is like being a tourist in my past. And
exactly. Did you feel like a grandma?
Oh my God, yes. And
you were the old grandma.
Totally. I stuck around for a couple of hours and Chen was really enjoying the music and having a few drinks. And I was like, babe, he had some other friends there. I'm like, babe, this is not for me. I've got to go home. I'm out. I'm tapped out.
I need a cup of tea and a book.
I need a cup of tea and to go home to bed. And I'm so happy about that. Like, I don't miss it at all. Yeah. So like I had some good times in Ibiza and singing in London and singing in nightclubs and doing tours over there and stuff like that. So I had a really good run with that.
Got it. So you're happy to turn that page, right? You're happy to leave that chapter behind.
So happy to leave that chapter behind.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so early 20s, you're doing this. I mean, when did the mind coaching stuff start?
Yeah, it started like the seeds of it started then, and then I kind of made this transition over like 5 years since that point of doing, like, I did my NLP coaching, and then I started coaching like with friends and family and kind of building up my confidence, and then I was working as a part-time kind of like an executive assistant type of role through the day. I never was able to like get into the corporate thing. Like the most corporate job I ever had was working for Fitness First as the like customer care manager for a year.
Would have been painful.
It was horrible. It was the first time they had a customer care manager back in the day, like we were the first round of customer care people, and it was when they had those horrible sales tactics and there were heaps of refunds and heaps of unhappy customers, and it was just horrible. But I picked up some amazing friends and some amazing fitness,
and some great skills too,
some
right?
Great skills, yeah, and great connections that are still, with me today. So that's awesome. But that started to shift, and then when I left Fitness First, I worked as a personal assistant and was for one of the personal trainers there, and then just kind of started this transition of I do a few days like exec assist work, and then do coaching my other days, and it just kind of my coaching built up, and then I went full time like about 5 years into it, and I've continued to grow and grow and grow with my coaching business. So
that in the early days when you were getting a few clients, how were they coming about?
How were they coming about? Well, it was like way before, like, so funny. I feel so old now talking to you about this stuff. It was like the time of MySpace.
Yeah, before Facebook.
Before Facebook. So there was no like social media advertising.
Yeah.
I was doing flyer, like letterbox drops, and I would do like a talk at the local gym on goal setting or like that kind of thing. And then I would pick up a few clients from that, and then just referrals from that. And I worked, would get an office at a holistic health center, and I picked up a few clients there, by putting a poster up, that kind of thing. So it was like just a few clients here and there, and the coaches that are starting today just don't, they've got no idea how lucky it is, how easy it is, and how low the barrier to entry is to get working and to get working fast.
Well said.
So that's awesome. That's awesome.
And then you said you went full time. Again, was that a conscious thing? Did you get to a point where you said, okay, I'm now in a good spot, let's do this, let's take this seriously?
Yeah.
Was that scary?
Definitely that. Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. But I feel like, and I don't know, this is probably just the mindset of a self-employed kind of business person, is that I feel like I have more stability running my own business and more certainty running my own business than if I ever had a wage coming in.
Sure.
Like I feel like if I was working for someone else, then they've got the control. Then they could fire me at any time, or their business could go under, or anything could happen. I'm not in control of that income. But when I run my own business, I'm in control of that income. If I dip, then I need to do my work. I've got to get out there and prospect, and like back in the day, you go to networking meetings and that kind of thing as well. So
it's funny, isn't it? It's funny that small business owners get that, what you just said. Employees don't. Employees think it's too risky to get rid of this 9-to-5 job, but the risk is that someone else is in control of your future. That's the risky thing.
Exactly.
Cool.
And you're building, and fair play. There's a lot of times where you can be in an employed situation and working for a company that's really aligned with your personal mission and really aligned with your own kind of life's work. But there are a lot of times where people are in employment where they're doing stuff that they hate, it's not meaningful to them, and they're just basically a slave to that wage. And And
then one day you die.
And then one day you die, and then one day you die, and then you come back and you do it all over again. Apparently.
All right. So then, because speaking of social media, right? You have a lot of followers, a lot of likers, and you do lots of stuff on Facebook and social media.
Yeah.
How is that working for you in regards to building a following, but also your business and interacting and building, as you say, your team?
Yeah.
Is it valuable?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. It's critical to get the right. I think when I first started with social media, like Facebook, was just starting, and it was kind of the university thing when it was just for universities, and then it became for everybody and for business and all of that. So I was lucky that I was a part of it when it was getting going. And so I think that's been good. I've just been around for a long time, so I've got a lot of content. Like on Instagram, I barely use Instagram. I just kind of post a few personal photos, and I don't have that many followers on Instagram. But that's not really where my main target market is. My typical target market is, the lady that's between, mid-30s to mid-40s, and she's had her kids, or she's wanting to get into having kids and getting out of corporate, and struggling with that sense of self and some health stuff. And so that's typically where my ladies are. And so it's been interesting to hone in as the social media platforms have exploded, to hone in on just the one where my people are, and go, no, I don't need to do Snapchat, I don't need to do Instagram, I don't need to do Pinterest, I don't need to do everything. I'll just do this one and do it well. Yeah. And I'm really lucky to have built up a team. Like, I've got an amazing virtual assistant in the Philippines who really quote images for me.
Wow.
And so she's done transcripts of all of my programs and been with me for 5 years. And so she knows me and she knows my brand really well. And so she just does them. So, so I often log into Facebook and I go, that's a great one. And I want to like my own post.
Yeah.
So it's awesome because it's just I've systematized it, and she knows me so well. And, she picks up quotes from my transcripts, or I'll send her something if I want something specific, or she finds them, that are aligned with my stuff. Okay. And then I do videos, just, do video blog posts and stuff.
And they seem to be really, I want to say engaging, but that's not the word, relatable.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think I had a turning point a little while back, because when I had Ruby first, I was a bit protective about wanting, because I do put myself out there and I am on social media, and it's that kind of self-made stuff or self-publishing. Sure. And I was I went through this bit of dilemma about, do I bring her into that, or, because I don't want her to be at 13 going, oh, Mum, I'm so embarrassed, I hated you doing that, and why did you bring me in? And I didn't want it to be all Roxy Jachenko and her little girl, that's not me. Yeah. So I kind of really went through this dilemma with it. And when Ruby was little, I actually did a video blog post about it in the park, 4.5 years ago, of me saying, hey guys, I haven't been around, posting much or doing much videos. That's because I've got my little girl with me, and I didn't want to put her and bring her as a part of this without her kind of giving her consent.
Sure.
But then I realized that if I don't bring her into this and make her a part of it, in, not by showcasing it or doing anything, over the top, but just this is a part of my world. Ollie's just there. Yeah. If I didn't bring them into it, I wouldn't be able to keep doing this.
And it wouldn't be authentic either.
And it wouldn't be authentic, exactly. So I am a mum, and they're my kids, and, it's not like I'm featuring them, but they're just a part of my life. So exactly. They're in my videos. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, and I'm sure of someone like Constance Hall. She's massive on that, right? This is my life. This is who I am. It's most of the time it's a roller coaster, but that's reality,
Yeah,
and
totally.
I think, and that's why with these interviews, I like them to be raw. I like them to be unedited, and stuff's going to happen where it doesn't work. And I think people enjoy that. They relate to that.
Yeah, for sure. It's a great ethos, and it's that in a land where, you look at music videos, or you look at, a lot of other stuff, and it's so polished and so perfect and so edited and so airbrushed that, to just have a real conversation,
it's refreshing.
With bed hair is refreshing.
If that's bed hair, then I've got no chance. You look great.
Thanks.
All right. So, one of my favorite sayings is, you don't truly know a topic until you can explain it to a 5-year-old. So I want you to explain what mind coaching is to me like I'm a 5-year-old.
Okay.
Just so that I can understand it.
So you can understand it. Okay, so mind coaching is talking to and listening to the little voices in your head and changing the stories that you say to yourself and changing the way that you stand and the things that you do by talking to yourself in a different way so that you can be friends with others, so that you can do what you want to do and be happy.
That's awesome. And thanks for simplifying it, and not just for me, but I think for a lot of people, they'll really get that. And I know, and I'll only speak for myself, that little voice is always going off. Always. It's going off whilst I have this conversation with you. It's going off when I went for a run this morning, and it's not always my best friend. Sometimes he's a bit of an asshole.
Sometimes he's a bit of an asshole. And for sure.
So
that's the thing,
And your target market is, as you said, it's women in their mid-30s to mid-40s. They've got their kids. They've happily married, ladies. Or maybe not happily married anymore, or whatever.
In that life stage,
100%. What is their little voice saying to them a lot of the times?
Oh, it's really full on. Their little voice is a really mean bitch most of the time. It's horrid, really horrid. Some of the things that I hear from my ladies in my programs and in my coaching sessions, it just makes you want to cry. And I remember it because that's the type of full on harsh self-critical voice that I used to have too. And it's that, you'll never do that. Oh, that's no good. That's no good for you. You can't do that. You're not good enough. Oh, you're so fat. You should just go home. Or, no one would ever want you. Or you're a terrible mother. Look at you. You're such a terrible mother. Look at you eating chocolate. You're such a bad example. And your kids are going to grow up fat and ugly, and they're going to be messed up, and they're going to be,
wow. The list is endless.
It goes on. And so it kind of, the entry point where ladies usually find me is because they're unhappy with their bodies in some way. And it's not necessarily because they're overweight. I've got a lot of ladies that work with me that are super fit and have body image stuff, or have had, self-harm and bulimia and anorexia and that type of stuff as well. So it's like they're not happy in their body. But a lot of people, again, are drawn to the kind of authenticity of my own personal weight loss story. So a lot of women find me around that as well. But it starts out about that, but then I kind of teach them about the little voice and the self-judgment and the inner beliefs of, things like I'm not good enough, or I can't do it, or I'll always be fat, or, teaching them about the unconscious mind and some of the stuff that's in there. And all of this comes out in the programs, and then we start to shift it. And I like to encourage my ladies to create for themselves. And it just kind of naturally happens through the programs, is to create an inner cheerleader. So that in contrast to that horrible critic voice, they now have a voice that says, go on, you can do it. Or, don't worry about eating that chocolate. It'll be fine. Just, have some broccoli tomorrow and you'll be right. And, go for a walk, and starting to have that self-kindness and self-compassion that is really critical to everything, really.
Let me jump in because my questions are piling up.
Yeah, sorry.
The first one is, why, and not just women, right? I get that. That's your.
Yeah, but it's totally for men too, and even 100%. More so nowadays. Yeah.
And kids and kids, everyone, right?
Yeah, everyone, for sure.
Why do we go straight to that? Why do I go straight to, you're not good enough? Why are you even trying this? You shouldn't be here. Other people are a lot better than you. Why are you doing this? Why do we go straight to that? And you mentioned that it's an unconscious thing a lot of the times, but where does that stem from? Why don't I go straight to, Matt, you're awesome, and if anyone's going to do this, then you will do it?
Yeah, very few people do that, and it's interesting because, like, I even had, like, I've got an amazing mum, and she was very much like that. You can do anything you want to. You're strong. You're fast. You know, you put your mind into it, and you can do it. And so, you know, she was very much positive affirmations around that stuff. Why do we go to that? I would have given a very different answer to this a few years ago.
Yeah.
But what my answer now is, it's two. It's from the neuroscience perspective and the spirituality perspective. So the kind of typical NLP answer is because we have, you know, we grow up and we have significant emotional events where, you know, you might draw a picture and go to show your dad, and your dad's busy because he's just come home from work and he's trying to, you know, finish a report or something, and he goes, no, not now, honey. He's rushed. He's not present. He goes, oh, not now. I'll look at it later. And the kid's mind says, I'm not good enough for my daddy. My picture's not good enough. Therefore, so it's that kind of thing that shows up in people's memories and experiences.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of, that's the simplest answer to that question. And that's definitely a true answer, because that's what happens a lot. And that's what does show up when I, you know, what I do is track back to those significant causal experiences in my programs and shift them, and actually shift that, so that from then an adult's perspective, you can look back and go, oh, it's not because my dad didn't love me or because I wasn't good enough. He was just really busy at work. And now that I'm an adult and looking at that event through an adult's eyes, I can see that and I can get that. And then it kind of, you can heal that past self and start to heal those things.
Exactly. Sure. Even if it was that he didn't care about you or whatever.
Totally.
You can still go, that's just his shit. That's his thing. It had nothing to do with me, right?
Exactly. And so that's the kind of simplest answer. From a neuroscience perspective, the reason that we have a negative bias is a safety and survival thing. So, you know, if you go out of the cave and you're like super happy-go-lucky and you don't check your cave, you know, entrance for saber-toothed tigers or lions or tigers or bears, you get eaten.
Yeah.
So the humans with a negative bias and that were more skeptical, more maybe a bit more anxious, were the ones that survived. And so we have this kind of Teflon for negative experiences to prevent us from repeating them. So that's the kind of the scientific perspective. And then from the spiritual perspective, we have this negative bias because we're disconnected from source.
What does that mean?
It means that we are individuations. Like, from my perspective, we are individuations of source energy, of universal energy, of God consciousness, whatever, you know, fits your personal perspective. But we're all connected, right? We're all made up of energy, and everything is made up of energy. So at some point, there is a level of connection. If you go right down to the core of our atoms, there's energy in there, and we're all made up of energy. So our consciousness, or our egoic brain, as like Eckhart Tolle and some of the more traditional kind of Carl Jung and stuff like that want to talk about it, then this egoic consciousness is this consciousness of individuation. It's the consciousness of I, and this idea of I think, therefore I am. And that's, you know, Eckhart talks a lot about this of that we think that we're individuals because we think, because we have that little voice. And so that little voice that says, I am this, or I am that, I'm a teacher, I'm Kylie, you're Matt, is this sense of separation. And so from this sense of separation, that egoic mind is constantly seeking fulfillment. It's constantly seeking more of something. And so because it has this sense of lack, this kind of deep sense of lack, because it is disconnected from every other thing, the egoic mind can't connect to the full consciousness, like to the full consciousness of all it is, because the only time you can connect to that is when you're dropped right down into the present moment. And in those moments of stillness that meditation gets you to, or yoga gets you to, or great sex gets you to, or there are many other pathways of, you know, getting to that moment where your mind just stops. And in that moment you feel fulfilled. And in that moment the chattering stops for a minute, and that's when we can glimpse that sense of connectedness or oneness that is in all things. But the egoic mind, the chattering mind, can't ever access that, because the minute that it starts to language our existence, then it's going into that sense of separation of like, I am me, you are you, there's a story, this is this, that is that, and it is a consciousness of separation. And that's how we have the human experience, is this sense of separation. But that's why it has that feeling of lack, because it can't access that moment.
I feel like I should ask you that question again, because that's probably the most beautiful response I've ever had. That was perfect.
Woo!
Well said.
Gold star.
Yeah, exactly.
Yay!
That's on the highlight reel, that one. All right. So a big part, what I can gather, is a big part of why your team comes to see you, why the women come and see you, is for weight loss. Would that be a fair thing to say?
Yeah, absolutely. That's, you know, that was my kind of core marketing message for a really long time, was that I'm a weight loss motivation coach, and that has kind of evolved.
You sure? And I can assume why. My background is, you know, I owned a couple of fitness centers for many years, and what I got very quickly is that losing weight is nothing about treadmills, dumbbells, or, you know, what you put in your mouth.
No.
And more about like the stuff you just talked about, you know, is what's going on up here. Do you find that's hard to get people around to understanding? And how do you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I usually find that you need to realize that yourself through trial and error. I can't tell you that it's about mindset while you're still in the paradigm of it's about diet and it's about exercise, and I just need to diet more and I just need to exercise more in order to get slim. And you really need to come to that realization yourself of like, oh, I've done hundreds of diets. I've exercised till like I'm a sweaty puddle on the floor, and I can get skinny, I can get ripped, but I can't keep it that way, because the minute that something stressful happens in my life, I'm straight back to the candy bars, or I'm straight back to the beer and pizza. And that has to be a self-realization. And so people come to me, I can hint at it and I can tell stories about it. And I often do talks in gyms where I talk about that, and I talk about the mindset and how, you know, when you're feeling internal pain, you reach for external pleasure. Like when you're feeling pain and stress and discomfort, whether that be physiological, psychological, emotional, identity, past memory, trauma, any of those pains can cause you to reach for an external pleasure. So that's like the balance of homeostasis of life. Like when you're feeling bad on the inside, you reach for something pleasurable on the outside that you can take in to try and fulfill you. And so that's like chocolate, you know, sex, drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, blah, whatever. Yeah. So you're trying to get that fix from outside of yourself. Yes, buddy.
Banana.
You want a banana?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Okay, hang on a sec. I've got to get a banana. Okay, banana. We're all bananaed up. We're ready to go.
Sorted.
And then, okay, so when I explain that to people, and then when you're feeling good on the inside, you're feeling joy and happiness, and you're feeling like you've got purpose, and you wake up, you're healthy, you're not waking up with illness or sickness. When you're feeling good on the inside on all of those levels, you're more easily able to lean into the external pain of meal prep, of going to the gym, of, you know, limiting your portion sizes, those types of things. That's giving up cigarettes, not spending everything that you can on your credit card, you know, saying no to meaningless sex and that kind of thing. So when that's external pain, like it's hard in that moment where you say no to that and you limit yourself and you have discipline, that's hard. But you can only do it when you feel really strong and have that resource and that resourcefulness on the inside. So when I explain that to people, then they're like, oh,
yeah,
right, I get it. Like, I get why I do that. And I get why I can do it sometimes and why I can't do it other times.
Yeah.
And so that's a big part of it. But they also have to have their own experience of doing it and it not working, you know.
Why? Why do you say that?
Because the marketing messages and the fantasy promises of the diet industry are so persuasive that you have your own personal experience of I've done this and it hasn't worked, then it can suck you back in. And so I find that people get the most benefit out of working with me, or they come to me after they've done a whole bunch of diets and it hasn't worked, or after they're a personal trainer and they've trained a whole bunch of clients and they realize that the clients aren't getting they're getting the results, but they're not able to keep the results because they don't have their mindset right. And so that's when, you know, I can come in and train those trainers about mindset and teach them certain things that they can be doing differently in order to assist and facilitate their clients to get lasting results.
This is $1 million question, right? But I'll ask it anyway.
Go on.
The key is being internally happy, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
Can I be working on that without having, like you have, years of NLP experience, you know, qualifications in the area?
Yeah.
Is it as simple as, like every second post on Facebook says, just choose to be happy? Is it as simple as that? Or do I need to work on, you know, certain specific research, scientific stuff?
It depends on who you are. If you're a really information-driven person, then the research, scientific stuff will help for your convincers. So the answer is yes and no. Yes, you can choose to be happy. And it's tricky to choose to be happy when you have so many trigger buttons all over you that are unconsciously driven. So
what does that mean?
Yeah, so trigger buttons, it's like when you, so this unconscious I'm not good enough thing, right? If you've got this, you know, we'll follow the same story of, like, you show your picture to the dad and the dad's busy.
Yep. Yep.
So that becomes a trigger button because that's a significant emotional event that has a negative emotion attached to it that is unresolved. You haven't come to peace with it. And so it lives somewhere in your energetic body as a button. I like to use that little metaphor of a button.
Okay.
And so then you can choose to be happy. You can be like happy going about your day. I've had a good day. But then someone that you care about ignores you. Boom. The button goes off.
Yeah.
And then it's almost impossible to choose to be happy because you're in a reactive state. And then you snap back psychologically into that 4-year-old, 5-year-old thinking, and you go, tantrum, I want chocolate, like, why don't you, blah, 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 and you start reacting. And so in order to have the ability to choose, thanks, buddy, in order to have the ability to choose to be happy, you need to have enough self-discipline, presence, and consciousness to be able to separate an event that happens and your response to it. And most people collapse that when they're triggered when their buttons are triggered, that moment collapses, and so you say something and I get pushed and the reaction happens. And it's like I'm possessed with this other thing, you know, this other entity or this other thought form. And it's the reaction chain of events that's happening like neurochemically of, you know, anger and stress and, you know, all of those things, cortisol going crazy and adrenaline, and it's just running over my body. And so that's the reaction. When you are practiced with it, then you can go, oh, you ignore me. Okay, so that person ignoring me doesn't mean anything. So you need to build up a sense of resilience and skills about your triggers. So you can go, okay, that person's ignored me, and okay, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not worth paying attention to, but I can now, you know, observe that event, observe my own feeling of inside, and from that space go, do I want to react, or do I want to, like, how do I want to respond to this? So being able to have the presence and the practice to separate out those things is critical to be able to choose to be happy. And you don't necessarily need years and years and years of NLP or psychology or psychotherapy to do that. You just need to know that. And you can practice it through yoga. You can practice it just through mindfulness. You can, you know, there's plenty of different ways you can practice it.
Exactly. And my last interview was with a guy called Ramon David, and he's right into neuroscience. That's his whole thing, you know.
Yeah.
And we had very similar conversation to this. And at the end of it, I sort of summarized it in one sort of sentence and said, at the end of the day, everything that happens is just what we make that mean.
Yeah.
You know, and certain studies that I've done, we're as humans just meaning making machines. Everything is just what we make it mean, you know. And I've got a really close friend of mine who doesn't care about lots of stuff. Yeah, just, it goes off his back. And in the early days of our friendship, I would go, I would hate to be like that, you know. Like I need to have passion for this and that and everything else. But conversations like this, I get he's worked it out, you know, by not caring about the person that ignored you, or the fact you've just lost all your money, or your wife left you, or if you just go, yeah, well, whatever, and I'll move on. Isn't that like what this whole life thing is about?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'll just move on.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because one day you'll be dead, right?
One day you'll be dead. I've been working a lot with a dear friend called Yvonne Delafleur, and she does a lot of stuff with futuring. And she had this quote, "Your past is killing your future," that she said recently. And that's like so profound, because it is the stories of the past that frame our meaning making, and they frame the stories that we retell ourselves and the scripts that we play of like, oh, people ignore me, so therefore I'm unlovable. Whereas you could be telling yourself the story of, oh, that person ignored me because he's busy. And that has nothing to do with me.
Or
whatever.
Didn't hear you, or
he didn't hear you, or whatever. And so you don't personalize things. It's that, you know, I love this. The 3 P's of awfulizing that most people do is make it personal, make it pervasive, and make it permanent. So they take something bad that's happened and they say, it's all about me. And they take that something bad that's happened and they go, well, if that bad thing has happened, then everything's shit. and if it's like this and everything's shit, then it's always going to be shit, and it always has been shit.
Yeah.
And so that's a really good way to make yourself feel terrible and hopeless and helpless and stuck.
I did a post the other day that went something like, it's okay to have a bad day, just don't have it for the next 10 years.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And that's what I try and teach my daughter. Like, she's super emotional, and so it's really tricky, like taking this kind of psychological insight and whatever, everything that you do, and and teaching it to your kids in a way that's really manageable and usable for them. And so that bubble strategy that I did, that you saw the video of, and
the golden bubble.
The golden bubble.
Yeah.
So, you know, so she wasn't so sensitive. Just imagine a bubble around her. And she does this. I'm like, just put your bubble on. She goes, whoop, zip. And then I'm going, how you feel now? Do you need to blow out any negative emotions? And she's like, yep. Okay. So she pops a hole in the bubble and blows out the emotions, and then breathes in the good emotions, and then seals it up again. So
that's cool.
There's that. But, you know, trying to say, yes, it's okay to feel angry, or yes, it's okay to feel sad. And now, how are you going to put it behind you and move forward? Like, so let's wrap it up and put it in the past and move forward.
Exactly.
And that's critical.
Yeah. Kids would make the best adults, wouldn't they?
Oh,
they
good.
Just get stuff so simply.
Well, they're present, right? If it comes back to the woo-woo consciousness stuff, is that they don't have that internal chattering yet. We haven't created it for them. And so they're just fully present. They're in the moment. And that's why it's so hard to get them to tie their shoes or get them out the door on time, because they're fully present with their Lego or, you know, whatever they're doing in so much of time.
They're not worried about the past yet.
They're not worried about the past. They're not worried about the future, except Christmas or Easter, you know, where they get sweets.
Yeah.
That's it, you know.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Look, I'm aware of your time, and I really appreciate that you're doing this, especially with Ollie in the background there.
I know. He's doing all right. He's happy for his iPad time. That's his screen time for today.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. He's like, I said to him this morning, he goes, Mummy, I want the iPad. And I went, you can have it later, bub. I've got to do a call and you can have it later. And I go, do you love me or the iPad? And he goes, I love the iPad. I don't like you. And I went, oh. He went, no. I like you. Can you get the iPad?
Yeah. Don't make that mean anything, Kylie. It doesn't.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's
don't
fine.
Hold on to that.
It's gone already. It's gone already.
Look, you obviously have the skills and the skills and the toolbox to deal with stuff, maybe more so than others. But I'm interested to know, and I'm asking a personal question, what sort of challenges do you deal with, and what does your little voice say to you? Yeah,
good one. What sort of challenges do I deal with? So the challenges that I've kind of been through recently was about the conflict of or the, you know, just coming to peace with being ambitious and having a personal mission that I need to but I choose to and I want to fulfill on the earth, of, you know, doing this type of thing, of teaching, of helping other humans to, you know, raise their consciousness, and being able to be present as a mum to my kids and deal with, you know, be present for them and teach them and be there for them. And so that's been something that's kind of been ongoing ever since I had my daughter Ruby. And
why is that a challenge? Why is being ambitious a challenge?
It isn't a challenge now, but it was when I was putting time pressure on myself. Like, I need to do this now. I need to launch this program. Like, the people need it and I need to get it out there. But, you know, they need me too. And this is important, you know, imprint time for them. And so when I took the time pressure off and go, you know what, it's okay. I'll just do what I can, and I'll have a video with my kid in the background, and I'll, you know, what I'm doing right now is perfect. And so that has shifted a lot. And then I think more recently, stuff that I've been kind of going through is how to be really, this is a really big one that was shifting like over this last year, of like how to be present with my family and my friends and all of like the people that are in my life, while I continue to be on this really accelerated ascension of consciousness. And some people will get that. And so as as I've been becoming kind of more and more aware of what's going on, and kind of quite tapped in, and downloading a lot of information from the universe stuff, then I realized that what had happened was that I developed this sense of spiritual ego of like, oh, I've got this thing and I need to teach it and that. And what I've realized with that, which is amazing and been such a like take the pressure off, is that spiritual ego is actually less conscious than the regular people that are just going about their daily life. And that sense of being better than in some way or having something more to offer is not true at all. And so that's been, which is part of that drive, right, of the ego of wanting to be up there teaching people and giving stuff. You have to have a level of confidence and or feel like you have something to offer, right?
Exactly.
Otherwise you wouldn't get up and do it.
Some sort of
and
value.
So it's kind of coming to peace with that and realizing that the mundane stuff is just as important and just as critical and just as spiritual and just as sacred, delivering the message to the masses and healing the world. Being present with my kids is just as important as delivering that message. And so that's been a big shift for me lately, and I think it's not really talked about in these consciousness circles that much, of like the challenges that you go through as you're starting to go on that journey, and the ego that can come with it, that becomes a spiritualized ego of arrogance. And that's what I've been dealing with and going through, and it's been it's great to be out the other side of it, but I'm sure there's more challenges to come.
It wouldn't be life if there wasn't challenges, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so with that in mind, then what's the next 5-10 years for Kylie Ryan?
Okay, so the next 5-10 years is going to be epic. I've got my kids going to school. I've got all of that going on at home. I'm going at the end of this week. I'm going on like a second honeymoon with my amazing husband for 9 days. We have the most incredible, supportive grandparents ever. And so my kids will be well looked after and loved, and probably won't even mention us the entire time we're gone. Yeah. So that's amazing. So we're going overseas and having some real quality time with some friends, and then driving around New Zealand to have some time just us.
That's awesome.
So that's in my immediate future.
Yeah.
But after that, then it's more growth, more of bringing this consciousness into NLP, and like a real kind of training NLP, because I do train NLP now. I train the traditional like practitioner syllabus and stuff like that, but I teach it over an extended period of time with mentoring, and so bringing that element of spirituality and universal laws into NLP and training it together, because they're so compatible, and it's all related anyway. But bringing that in, there's more of that. So teaching and training more leaders, training more coaches to get out there.
That's cool.
Which is going to be really exciting, and doing more music. So I've started writing more music again.
Oh, good. So you're singing again?
I am singing again, not in clubs, but singing more than nursery rhymes. I've been singing nursery rhymes for the past 5 years, and I'm starting to get some songs, some soul songs and stuff coming through. So I'm going to start writing some more music as well.
Wow, that's really cool.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Synthesis.
Yeah, I like it. You'd be like the female version. You'll be like the Madonna version of the Wiggles.
Yeah.
That's cool. Kylie, if anyone that's watching this has taken something from it and can relate to it, which I'm sure there'll be lots of people that can, how can they best contact you from here? Is that something you're okay with?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. They can find me on mymindcoach.com or on Facebook. If you search for Kylie Ryan or My Mind Coach on Facebook, then you'll find me, and feel free to to message me. Don't just friend request me. I think I've got about 600 friend requests that I need to get through, and periodically I go through and I just go confirm, and periodically I go through and go delete, depending on what mood I'm in. So if you actually want to connect with me, you need to send me a message. We can connect. I do NLP training or one-on-one coaching or weight loss stuff. There's heaps of programs on that I've got. So
That's
lots
awesome.
of ways that people can find me.
Excellent. I want to say that I'm really happy that you didn't become the next Adele. and I think you have found your calling. I've taken a couple of pages of notes. I always seem to do that. And I just I need another interview with you to undo some of the overwhelm of all these notes. But Kylie, I really appreciate your time. And,
it's a pleasure.
Have fun in New Zealand.
Yeah, I will.
Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the kid-free time.
Yeah, it will be beautiful.
Awesome. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye.